Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Very excited to be talking to a fellow Canadian here. He is the head integrator at the Integrator Academy. And what he does is he helps working professionals quit their job by teaching them a skill that is very hard to find. Very excited to be rocking out today with Michael Dallas-Petersen. Hey, Michael, you ready to rock?
I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
So just like I think a lot of other people's stories, I had a tremendous amount of trial and error at the beginning, and I've had a rough go. So I think if I can inspire anyone, I'd like to maybe talk about, like, I guess, how it started, and it's a long story. So I'll just sum it up as I was an alcoholic. I was in comatose, dying in a hospital, liver failure, things like that, and I ended up having this kind of chance to get out of it and really like fight through it. And I had a wife or my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and we got two beautiful children. But she just gave me an ultimatum, and it was the one thing that really kind of inspired me to get going. And I was like, I'm so much more than just what I'm doing. And so with a family of addiction and stuff like that, it was hard, but I beat it, and I've been sober since 2012. And ever since then, I've been kind of like working my way up inside of like businesses. I did tires, I did management, I've run $5 million stores, all that kind of stuff. But it was just quite never enough. And one of the biggest problems, I suppose, was just the corporate. I call it the corporate bullshit, if it's okay to swear. But it's I just constantly got harped at and beaten down. And I call them the boomers of but Cal Tire in Canada, it's a big, huge chain. I was like one of their managers for a decent sized store, and they would just like beat me down, berate me. Oh, I never changed my son's diaper until 2 weeks after he's born, and making me feel bad about like taking time off and being with my wife and my newborn Elliot. And so I was like, you know what, screw it, I quit. I had no idea what I was doing, no fucking clue. But I quit cold turkey, and I went to just like affiliate marketing. And I was like, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try affiliate marketing. And then I went into multi-level marketing, and then I went into a marketing agency, and then I went into e-commerce. And then I spent an entire year jumping from one rock to the next rock to try and figure out what I was good at. And the crazy thing is I was mildly successful in everything I did. I always made money, right? I never made a substantial amount of money, but I was always successful. I always had things up. And I think I was just like, my sales ability or something like that was just like, I was never too pushy or whatever it might have been, right? And I was just never the influencer, like, take pictures of my life and put it online. And I was just never that person, right? And so I was like, the year was up, and I was like, in Canada here we have EI, and I was able to like take it for the year, and it was ending. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta go do something. So this entrepreneur in my town was like, start a tire shop. Let's go into competition with Cal Tire. I was like, all right, sounds good. Let's go to competition. So I started this tire shop up from the ground up. I had to buy all the tools, hire the staff, build all the procedures. And we grew that store in the first 6 months to $250,000, which is like pretty crazy for, a little tiny town and just starting off and stealing the business from another tire shop and stuff. But what I realized in that little, to sum all this up, what I realized was I was really not good at the whole selling and like the whole like influencer and like getting my life out there. What I was really good at was like the systems and the building and then the processes, and then really like tying and gluing all this stuff together to make it work. Because after a while, I wasn't even running the tire shop. You know what I mean? They were. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach back out to all the people, from the multi-level marketing and from the affiliate marketing and the marketing agencies. I'm going to reach back out to these people and be like, hey, do you want me to help you with this? And so I was starting to help them with like their funnels and their emailing and their marketing and their websites, and maybe delegation and helping them find virtual assistants and all this kind of stuff. And so I ended up like helping out 2 or 3 people, like friends, and then all of a sudden they started referring me out. And then one client was like, "Oh, hey, I'll give you $1,500 a month. Can you just stay in my Slack channel and help me out?" I'm like, $1,500 a month? Oh, is that US? They're like, "Yep." I'm like, "Oh man, that's like $2,200 a month already." You know what I mean? Like I was like stoked on life. And so it just like from there, it just like got progressively better and better and better. And so I guess my inspiration is that, like, it may seem like you're trying absolutely anything and everything, but sometimes in behind there's this little tiny hidden message, or this like this nuance of what you're doing that you can't really see, and you just got to kind of think outside the box. And however that is whether you're, you go and you take a big long walk or do something you've never done before, and maybe go to a museum or go to, somewhere with a ton of information, things that you can read, and just like maybe, books and stuff like that. And I find that I get a ton of inspiration from that kind of stuff, and I start thinking way outside the box. And so yeah, that's what basically took me from, having to work the corporate grind again to, not even like after I got that store going, I said 6 months, within, month 8, I was ready to quit. And I just basically told my wife, hey, don't go back to work, raise our children, because our number 2 was almost due, and raise our children. And I'm gonna keep working, building a business, keeping you guys at home. And then when I'm ready, then I'll quit. So yeah, I ran the business, ran another business, and then eventually was able to come home too. So
Love it, man. Love it. And we have a very similar path. I did all those same things. Only
nice, yeah.
I didn't do a tire shop. I did computer repair instead. But wow, like awesome stuff. Now I'd love to hear the next part of this, because with the good note comes some bad notes. So I'd love to hear about some of the things that didn't go as planned as you were going through all these things. I'm sure you got a few to talk about, but can you pick one that we can learn from?
I would say the biggest lesson I've learned over the last 7 years is I think money. And it's nice to earn it, but it's also a lot nicer to manage it properly. And the problem that I was never taught, and I think entrepreneurs never get taught, and you have all these gurus out here with all these myriad of courses and all this kind of stuff, they never really teach you about tax prep. They never teach you about formation of businesses. They never teach you about saving. They never teach you about like profit first, or, creating multiple accounts and organizing your bank accounts so that you actually have, proper structure, how to interview and hire an actual accountant. And so I think my biggest problem was with money. Is that, yeah, I was earning it, and I've had months where I've made 120 grand. You know what I mean? Well, it's amazing. But, I eventually had nothing, and it's like, well, where did it go? And what did I do with it? And oh my gosh. And it took me a long time. And I think one of my biggest rock bottom problems was actually just recently, a couple of years ago, when the stock market took a dive with COVID and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of my clients were in the financial niche. And so I didn't properly prepare. And so I was making all this money doing what I was doing, not putting anything away. And then tax time came. And you go from making 190,000 a year take home, for your family, to making 90. And then you're paying taxes that you didn't prepare for, that, maybe you lost in crypto or whatever it was. So long story short, I think money management and learning and hiring and interviewing and all this kind of stuff, and taking proper advice from people that actually know what they're talking about, not just gurus who think they know what they're talking about, I think is the best. Hiring an accountant and spending the $60 an hour to jump on a call with him for 2 or 3 hours are probably the best money I've ever spent. So
I'm resisting the urge to say me too again.
yeah, I think it's like an epidemic, or it's a one form of a pandemic. It kills a lot of businesses. It's just not.
Right.
It really needs to be taught more, and it needs to be more apparent. The government's not going to teach you. The government
No.
wants their interest. They want their penalties. They want all this kind of stuff, especially the Canadian. Them, like
Oh yeah.
I bet
They
the
want you to
IRS
be
is probably
confused.
worse, but yeah.
I
So
know, I agree.
I think that would be probably one of the biggest lessons, or one of the biggest rock bottom. And I think the next one is just not taking care of yourself. Is like working and grinding and not eating properly, and eating processed foods and just like the quick stuff, and not exercising, and just sitting at a desk all day. And it's just like you go from like doing tires and all this kind of stuff to, now sitting at a desk all the time. And then you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a quick this, I'm gonna have a quick that, I'm making money, I'm successful, da 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 da. And then all of a sudden, you go to the doctor and they're like, well, you got high cholesterol and triglycerides, like you need to walk, homie, get off your ass. And I'm like, shit. So I think that also with the money thing feeds into this massive mindset problem that I had: depression, anxiety, all this kind of stuff that, I'm on top of, and it's a lot better. But, it's, yeah, you just gotta be extremely proactive and in that regard. Everyone wants to hide away from it, but you gotta just jump ahead of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And as you get older, it just gets worse and worse, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when you're young, I mean, geez, you can eat whatever you want, and everything seems to be fine. But as you get older, it starts to get even worse. And like,
Yeah.
especially when you're eating poorly, like I find that like now, I just turned 46 a couple days ago, and I find that now I eat a fast food meal and feel terrible, like
Yeah.
almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's
especially
messed
especially
up.
if you've been being healthy for a while. There's a
Yeah.
stat I read and there's a podcast that I actually listened to the other day and it's like eating ourselves to death. And I forget it's by I can show you it afterwards, but basically inside of there they said 75% of America is obese and 95% of America has a metabolism illness or problem.
Yeah.
And it's basically like it's you can live with pre-diabetes for up to 10 years. Your body can manage itself for up to 10 years before it shows up properly, you know what I mean? And so that was so scary to me because I'm only 33, but I'm like, man, like when's that 10-year mark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my goodness, why I should get ahead of this. And so yeah, that's the next thing. So I hike every day. We try to eat like whole foods and no sugar, no processed oils and all that kind of stuff, and just do our best. I mean, it's never 100% and never can be, right? Like this weekend I had just a shitty burger and some fries, and you know what I mean? And then the boys and I had shared some candy, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is, but for the most part, the majority of my week is good, right? So
Um, and that's what's funny about it, is that the better you eat, like you say, the more you notice how badly you feel
yeah,
after you eat something bad like that. But on the other hand, it tastes great and it's a good experience, so why not?
reward
It's good for the
yourself.
soul sometimes, right?
Reward yourself a little bit. Like the thing is like you go back 200 years ago, and there was the average person was eating 6 pounds of sugar a year, and then now you've got over 120 pounds of sugar a year per person. It's like this is not sustainable.
No.
Something's got to change, and so yeah. Anyways, it's a great podcast. Not to pitch a podcast on a podcast, but it's
Yeah.
definitely something that you might want to listen to. It's eye opening for sure.
Yep. And I think it's a really important point that we need to make really as entrepreneurs, because we are responsible for everything. We're responsible for the mindset, for the energy going into the business, right? I mean, if you don't feel right, then how can you show up in your business 100%, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
If you're not happy, then neither will your clients. And so, yeah, take care of you first and foremost. I think is probably the number one thing in a business is take care of you first and foremost. Move your body every day, right? Eat at least, you know, well for 6 days out of the week if you can, and get some proper sleep. And
yeah, absolutely. Great advice. So now what about the band? So let's talk about the people that you have around you. Like how do you go about, finding, subcontracting, all that kind of stuff? Do you do any of that stuff?
yeah, so that's like one of the biggest, I guess, we call them failures, and I just it was just one of the speed bumps that you fail your way to success. So I started off with like a lot of like the integrating was like the delegating and automating and eliminating things that weren't necessary. And I was fortunate at early in my entrepreneurial career to find a girl in the Philippines who was just a diehard, amazing, crazy work ethic, and of course she knew a lot of people, and so we went around just training a lot of like virtual assistants in the Philippines to be those remedial task masters, I call them, is where they're doing all the stuff that you shouldn't be doing, all the shit tasks that are pretty monotonous, and the things that all business owners tend to just neglect and not do, right? And so we right from the beginning we're working with virtual assistants from the Philippines. I've gone to Colombia, I've done to Pakistan, I've done India. I keep on going back to the Philippines, and I've had offers that I've been on, and clients that we've placed 100 virtual assistants in one offer before, and that was
Wow.
that was absolutely probably one of the hardest tasks I've ever done. But it was very rewarding because we grew that company to $1 million a month. Pre financial collapse there. But yeah, it was crazy. It was amazing. So
Amazing. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that in the Philippines, as I understand it, the financial system is very different there. So you can pay a fair bit less, and that's actually very good for them, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it depends. Like there are still the people from America and Canada that are paying people about $2 to $3 an hour, $3.50 an hour, and I still don't think that that is like a livable wage, even though they can get by and they can, you know, it's still like lower class pay structure. So I pay my virtual assistants a minimum of $5 an hour now, which is still pretty good. And some of my virtual assistants are up at about $8.50 an hour. And I've actually had one virtual assistant who no longer works with me. I ended up having putting her full time on a different offer, but she makes $10 an hour, right? And so that's substantial. A lot of like my virtual assistants have worked with me since 2018. They've been full time employees. I've kept them employed since then. They've built houses for their parents. They've put their siblings through schools. They've helped family members start businesses. Most of all, actually, I would say every single one of my virtual assistants right now all have side businesses and side hustles that they do after they work for me. And so it's inspiring. It's pretty cool.
Love it. I love to hear all that stuff. Cool. So now what about the marketing side of it? So how do you generate fans in your business?
Yeah. So how do I generate fans? So like a lot of I arguably, and I've gotten into many arguments that arguably word of mouth is always the best form of marketing, in my opinion. And so I've always been like just over deliver and just have tremendous customer success, regardless of who this person is. Because the one thing that even a bad customer is going to do is refer you to a good client. And so I've always just been, I'm not scared to ask. And so I think that's one of the biggest problems a lot of business owners have right now is they don't want to ask for the 5-star review. They don't want to ask for the referral. They don't want to ask for anything above and beyond what they've already, sold to the client or performed a service or whatever product or whatever it might be. Right. And so I think that the best form of marketing right now is the fact that I get on calls. I jump on with my clients after the fact. I ask them, hey, do you have any people that are going through the similar problems right now that we can jump on a call with right now? So my best form of marketing, in my opinion, is I'm extremely proactive in the fact that I'm asking my current clients and even my past clients how their friends and family are doing. And I'm jumping on calls and I'm jumping on tutorials and I'm jumping on people's I would say coaching lessons and doing, just like, hey, how to build a CRM or how to build a funnel in under an hour and how to do this. And I'm just like putting myself out there. And so I think the best form of marketing is like in yourself, like getting yourself out there as much as you can. And in terms of clients and what I do for marketing for them is I teach the same thing, right? Like always ask the question, right? Because no one ever likes to, everyone's scared of a no. But I think that's just it's a formula, right? You get 10 no's, you get a yes. So just count the no's and then you get a yes, right? Like I'm pretty analytical that way. So, but my biggest form of marketing that I do for clients right now is email and SMS. And I set up massive 3-lane marketing systems. And it's called like the sidewalk, slow lane, fast lane. So most marketers and most business owners have a 1 lane, a single lane of like where they dump all their clients into a nurture sequence or dump all their clients into one thing. And it just, all these emails go to them and maybe it's good fit, maybe it's not a good fit, but that's it. So I like to think of like my marketing systems and the way that I do things is three different lanes. People are on the sidewalk. They're not really sure about their problem. They're not really sure about you, but we're kind of interested. And then they have a different metrics in that lane, right? And we have the slow lane where, they know they have a problem. They know about your solution. They're not yet convinced. And then we have the fast lane, which is like, they know about you, they know about your, they know they know exactly what their problem is and they know exactly what your solution is. They're just waiting for you to pitch them, right? And so I have this 3-lane that I build for a lot of my clients and we go with this methodology, if that makes sense. And that way we're building assets for each lane. And when we're nurturing them, have you ever heard of lead scoring?
Yes.
So we lead score from 1 lane to the next. And so what happens is every time someone opens, clicks, and replies, we give them points. And so as they hit different points, levels, say 20 points, they move over to the next lane. And that next lane is going to do different things. Like it's going to give them testimonials. It's going to give them longer content. It's going to maybe also have retargeting campaigns that start on TikTok or Facebook or whatever it might be, depending on how elaborate you want to get, right? And then as they engage more, they get up into the fast lane. Fast lane's like extremely like 90-minute webinars, they're totally engaged. It's very casual, buddy. You know what I mean? Whereas the sidewalk is very structured and corporate and branded and logos and things like that, right? And it's like maybe 3 to 5 minutes worth of attention span, right? So that's where I build a lot of the marketing system. So I have I wouldn't say I'm like a hypocrite. I have those systems for myself, but I truly believe that the best form of marketing for myself, because I have the luxury of being able to pick and choose my clients now, because I have too many. And that's why I built the academy. But I have the luxury of being able to do that now, whereas, some people don't, right? They have to have those systems and elaborate, I would say methodology in place, right?
Hi, it's Mark Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to give two very big thumbs up to Tim Melanson and his Creative Crew agency. I have been using them for a long time, and I am 100% happy. They get the job done right, they're fast, and they let me focus on my business. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, I want to give them two very big thumbs up. I have no problem recommending them. I don't give testimonials for everyone because my name is attached to it, but I gladly do so for Tim and the Creative Crew agency. So use them, you won't regret it, and good luck.
Right on. That's cool. I've never heard that strategy before. That's a good one. Now,
Yeah.
are you using a specific set of software for that, or like is this like HubSpot? Like what are you using for this? Is this something that you created?
No. So you can use almost anything. And that's the one thing that I really like about my position is I love software. And like that's what I do is I glue things together, right? And so that's what I teach too. The main softwares that I use are like ActiveCampaign. If clients already have elaborate CRMs and systems built already, I'm not gonna like move people over to an entirely new system, right? If people don't have elaborate systems and it's going to be a quick move, I use Go High Level. It's a fairly new product. It just came out about 2018, 2017-ish. It's got its bugs, it's got its hate. A lot of people don't like it because it's very affiliate driven.
Yeah.
But if you can separate your side from the BS of that or whatever, it's a great product. And I find that it has everything inside of it. It's got the attribution, it's got the tracking, it's got the funnels, it's got the website, it's got the emailing and text messages and voicemail drops, forms, surveys, website chat, widgets, you name it, it's got it. And so why I like it is because it's very internally automation based, trigger based. So you can have inside of it, you don't have to go to like Zapier or Pabbly or Make and Integromat and all these kind of gluing softwares like connecting A to Z or something like that, right? You can actually just do it internally without having to go outside. So you don't need multiple softwares. Like for $97 a month, you have 25 features. Whereas if you were to go to like Calendly and Pipedrive and ActiveCampaign and Sly Broadcast and Twilio, and you know what I mean? Like you start adding this up, I mean, you're at $1,000 a month. You know what I mean? And it's outrageous. So I default to Go High Level only because of its price. The fact that it's easy to learn after you get the hang of it, and because it does so much. And so I build my own systems in there. I don't go outside of it. I build everything inside of Go High Level for myself too. And it's got the the lead scoring. It's got the the ability to do math and all that kind of stuff and custom fields and
I'll have to give them another chance because I did have issues with Go High Level. I found it buggy, as you say too.
Yeah.
But it's probably improving over time, right?
And I would say too is like if you're not an agency owner, if you're not going to have multiple accounts, find someone like myself and just buy an account from them. Why? Because we have the training, we have the coaching, we have the support, we have all of that stuff. Whereas if you go directly to Go High Level, then you go and ask a question in the community or something like that. That's where that's spent. It's like the old ClickFunnels. Remember the old ClickFunnels community getting the ClickFunnels, and it was just toxic. And what do you mean you don't know how to fucking do this? No. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And rating you and all this kind of stuff. And so I would say that if you're going to get into high level, right, you could go get your own agency account and you're going to have all that, whatever, cool. Or you just make a deal with someone like myself. My CRM, I call it Nurture to Profit, right? Nurture to Profit. And I'll make deals with like people, if people want to have and sell it to their clients or whatever, I'll handle the support and I'll go 50-50 with you. You have clients that come in, I'll split it down. I don't care. Like it's not about profit. It's about providing an extremely good service and having the systems and stuff and being able to integrate their life, eliminate, automate, delegate, right? And just really just make a difference, right? In that regard, it's not totally about the money. It's nice to have the recurring coming in. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, if I were you, I'd give them another chance. And if you want, and this isn't a pitch, like you could see what we've got in place or whatever. But at least you have, we have weekly coaching. You can jump on and be like, hey, I'm stuck here. Hey, I'm stuck here. And you're getting honest to God feedback from people that are actually doing it, not people that just want to sell you an arm and a leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
they're going to give you half truths or half this, or, or they're going to berate you, or, you know what I mean? Or you're going to get on 13 calls just to figure out how to do X. And it's like, that's just a waste of time. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you and I agree on tools as being awesome and
yes.
use a lot of different tools. So is there any other like cool tools that you would recommend to any entrepreneur?
Yeah. So if you're just starting off and you really want to get into like the mindset, the solution oriented mindset, and you want to really just like kind of hone in and learn something that is like you can use for a lifetime, right? You can make a career out of it. I would say go high level, HubSpot, Zapier, Integromat, Active Campaign, softwares like that are something that people should really learn. In my opinion, those are softwares that will keep you employed forever if you can master
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Integromat. That's the only one that I haven't heard of before. I'm gonna have to check that out then.
It's called Make. It's very similar to Zapier or
Okay.
Zapier, whatever one. I always get argued. It's Zapier.
I think it's Zapier. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people are like, it sounds better when you say Zapier. I'm like, okay. But Integromat is very similar, but it's got a little bit more techie ability to it, if that makes sense, right? And so what I really like is it's got a very, Zapier just came out with like looping. Have you ever heard of looping? It's very techie, so a lot of people don't know what it is, but its ability to just like loop through multiple variations of custom fields or whatever you're putting into it, right? And so Integromat does that very naturally already, and so that's what I like. If I'm building something extremely robust and it needs to be very accurate, it needs to be very quick and efficient and all this kind of stuff, I will just default to Make, just because it's harder to set up, and yes, it seems a little bit more complicated, but I find that it's just far more accurate. But if you're just like connecting A to Z and you're just doing like, a couple, maybe a 10-step zap or something, or a 5-step zap or something like that, then I would just go to them and just learn that. I would start with Zapier. If you're going to try anything, start with Zapier so you get an idea as to how it works, right? And to be honest with you, my aha moment, my line in the sand moment, my I'm going to be an integrator moment came when I saw someone building a 16 or 17-step zap one time. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like this is so easy. I could do this for a living. And then now I do. It was like, it was so cool. It was just like inspired the crap out of me, because it, to some people it might be extremely boring. I don't want to touch that. I just want to sell. I just want to do my, whatever it is. But that was just like blew my mind. I was like, I want to do that for a living. And like, I built some crazy. I've had over 70-step zaps before. Not that you would ever want to try doing that, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't even think I've gotten past a 3-step zap.
Yeah.
Never needed to yet, but that's really cool. And I think you're right about the go high level, the HubSpot, any type of CRM is and it took me so long. I used spreadsheets for a good 10 years, I'm sure of it, more than that, before I started moving into the CRMs. But there's so much you can do with it. Like, actually, can you share with me what would be the big advantage of using a CRM rather than, cracking it on paper or in a calendar or something?
The accountability. And most people lack it. And so one thing I really like about a CRM is the accountability it adds, right? You can go ahead and zap in a lead to your Google Sheets or something like that, right? You can do it very easy. You can have a virtual assistant put them in there for you. But the only thing that Google Sheets not going to do is going to go, hey, Tim, follow up with that lead. It's been 2 days. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, no Google Sheet on the planet is going to do that for you, right? And so when I build CRMs for people, and when I'm like really structuring them and making them, we want it to be as successful as possible for the client, right? We add in those accountability systems. And I find that a CRM is probably, especially go high level, as internal and external notifications. It can be like, hey, Tim, you just got a new lead. Press 1 to connect right now. And it'll actually phone you, and you have to press a number in order to connect, and it'll make you dial that phone number right then and there, right? And so
Wow.
there's little tiny things like that. It can send you a text message. We can send it straight into a Slack channel, right? So you have to mark them off that you've actually followed up with them with direct links that take you to the CRM and stuff like that. And so it'll ping you push notifications. It'll do all of that. And so one of the biggest stats I read a long time ago was like, in the real estate niche, it was like something like $6 or $7 or $8 billion a year is spent on real estate marketing, and only 65% of the leads generated with that money never receive a first response. And I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, that just blew my mind. And so I'm like, okay, so you could have the best CRM on the planet, but if it doesn't hold you accountable, it's useless, right? And just like a Google Sheet, right? And I can build an accountability system into a Google Sheet if you really want me to. I could do it with Zapier. I could definitely do it, but it's just not. That's, I would say, accountability is probably one of the biggest things, and then organization, right? Just being able to organize. Most entrepreneurs and most business owners don't even understand their sales process from left to right. Right? If you're going to take one person and move them into your pipeline stages from left to right, what is your sales process, or what is the marketing process before even you're getting into the sales process, right? Like, people don't even understand it. So it's like really understanding that. And so I could go on and on forever on this, to be honest with you. Yeah.
I'm with you. Like, having spent some time in network marketing as you did, you learn that this is not normal. Like, people do not like sales. They just don't do it. And yeah, I mean, like you said, you get, I mean, when people onboarded into network marketing, we get them to write a list of the people that they're going to call, and they're super excited to call them, and they don't. And
Yeah.
it's just it just is natural. I mean, we had this, inherent fear of the no, right? And so when you have that system in place where it just prompts you to call, or some of them are super automated where they actually even send the email automatically, right? Or send a text automatically. Of course, picking up the phone is always better. But anything to keep you accountable, and actually you have to now click no, I'm not going to call that person, or you have to put it
Yeah.
off yourself. It's a mindset game, right?
Yeah, it's just like, at the end of the day, like, I think people struggle with like knowing what to do at the time, and so everything else becomes more important. And so the way that I like to structure, like, say, Slack channels, for example, and like Slack is probably one of the best things that's ever come out in terms of accountability and stuff like that, in my opinion, and communication, is because, like, when a lead comes in, I always put into a Slack channel, and I always have a process in there. It's like, mark this with a check mark when you've followed up. And so when you go into a Slack channel at the end of the day, and I'll do this to my clients, I have zero F's to give when it doesn't matter. You hired me, you don't want me around, I'll leave. But I'm going to be this guy for you. And I will go into Slack channels and I'll see 13 or 14 leads that don't have a check mark on it. I'll screenshot it, I'll DM them, and I'll also go in that channel and go at owner name. Why is there 13 tasks still yet to be done? And then that angers and pisses people off so much that, you know what they do? They go and get it done.
Yeah.
And then after that, they go, hey, next time you could be a little bit lighter. No. But thank you. You know what I mean? And it's just like, because sometimes ego is hard for people to let go of it. Yeah, I'll do that. I do that. And so I like it because even for the virtual assistants, right? Like, a lot of times I'll have the virtual assistants do like a pre-call, right? Instead of jumping on with someone that's just going to waste your time, I'll hire a voice VA that'll come out and they'll actually, do a pre-call, right? And so, same sort of scenario. It'll be like, hey, these people need a pre-call. And at the end of the day, the funny thing is a virtual assistant has check marks all the way down. Every time.
Every time, yeah.
Every time.
They have no connection to it, right? There's no psychological connection. It's the same as hiring the secretary in your office. They don't own the business. They're just picking up the phone and calling, right?
Yeah. The other really cool thing, and I know we're probably crunching time here, but the other really cool thing that I've done too is I've when a lead comes in, generally you're grabbing information, you're grabbing like a form, questions and stuff like that. And so what I'll do sometimes is I'll actually formulate the questions inside of their form strategically to be like, hey, owner name, Tim has reached out over Facebook for a custom field, and it looks like they want to make $15,000 a month, but they're unmotivated and don't know what to do. And I'm grabbing their answers from the form and I'm making it into a story for them, so they read it, right, and they know exactly. And then now they're like, oh, and then they feel the pain, and then they're more motivated to call. And so, like, I'll use different strategies like that to actually motivate the clients if I have to, right? And it's just, I find sometimes that's way more successful than just putting new lead, Tim, email, phone, you know what I mean, whatever it might be, kind of thing. Like, it's like, that's boring sometimes, right? But like, if you build a bit of a story, it's like, wow,
That's a great idea. You're right.
Yeah.
We are running out of time, and we should have a follow up. But before we do that, what's going on? What's exciting in your business right now? It's time for your guest solo.
Yeah, so like the Integrator Academy is very new, and I don't like to lie or stretch the truth or anything like that. But the need for the Integrator Academy came from me just having far too many clients that need more work from me, and I just don't have enough time. And so one of my clients was like, well, why don't you teach other people to do what you do? And I was like, well, that's a really good idea. Maybe I should do that. And so I built the Integrator Academy, which is starting people off at the very basics, like CRM and Zaps and all this kind of stuff, to try and hopefully retire, them from their corporate job or wherever they're at. Not immediately, not right now, but hopefully make a little bit more extra money. Like I have one guy, his name's Sam. He's at about $4,500 a month recurring right now. And he just started about 2.5 months ago. And there's a massive need for this, for what we do. And there's so many clients out there, thousands upon thousands, that it's never, I can't imagine it'll be ever be saturated. And so the exciting thing is like, we've got the Integrator Academy up. It's fairly new. We've got tremendous success already with a ton of people, men, women alike or whatever. And so we're just trying to spread the word and trying to like go, hey, it's super possible. You don't have to go through all the failures I did. You can skip it and you can, learn a skill that is literally going to employ you for the rest of your life. 100%.
Wow. How do we find out more then?
Well, the integratoracademy.com, or you can just search up Michael Dallas-Petersen on Facebook and friend me up or follow me. And there's a lot of lookalikes on me. So there's a lot of people trying to be me on Facebook. So you'll be able to find I'll have like 15,000 followers or something on Facebook, and you'll see there's a big difference between, some of the profiles in mine. But yeah, be careful if someone's asking you for money in DM. I don't do that. So.
Well, that's what you get when you teach people to do what you do, right?
Sometimes, yeah,
Actually become you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like I think it's humbling at the same time, right? It's definitely good. Never thought I'd be here, but at the same time, here we are, and yeah, we just need to get more people. We need to get more people and help more people, and hopefully inspire more people and get them to quit their jobs and do something they like from wherever they want. So
love it. Which is now's the right time, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think this is the way of the future. So what was that website again?
Theintegratoracademy.com.
Theintegratoracademy.com. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael, for rocking out with me today. This has been a good fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Right on. So the Rockstar is on the line here. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.